Have you ever pondered the profound impact of absence? Not a gradual withdrawal, but a complete severing of connection. A silence where once there was exchange, a void where your presence once resided. What transpires in the mind of another when the familiar anchor of your being is suddenly lifted? In a world often characterized by the casual disregard for the value of individuals, consider the power inherent in your own departure. Imagine the foundations of their assumptions trembling when the certainty of your availability dissolves. Stay with me, for the reflections we are about to undertake will illuminate the intricate dance of human connection and the potent lesson of self-worth. Greetings, seeker of inner strength and clarity. I am Marcus Aurelius, and throughout my time, I have observed the complexities of human relationships and the subtle power dynamics that often unfold. You find yourself in a world where individuals may, at times, become complacent, treating those who offer their loyalty and care as mere conveniences, as options rather than priorities. Today we shall contemplate a significant concept, the inner turmoil experienced by another when you choose to remove yourself entirely from their sphere. We will examine 9 distinct emotional stages that may arise when your presence vanishes, offering insights that might guide your understanding of your own worth and the impact you hold. By the conclusion of our reflection, you will perhaps grasp why, on occasion, the most resolute action one can take is to step away and refrain from looking back. If you are prepared to delve into the depths of self-respect and understand the potential for your absence to be deeply felt, I invite you to affirm your resolve in the silence of your own thoughts. Let us proceed with our exploration, and I shall offer a 10th, supplementary insight towards the end, one that speaks directly to the essence of your own inner fortitude. Prepare to perceive the subtle shifts in how others may regard you when you assert the value of your own being. 1. The sharpness of repudiation. The initial sensation experienced by one from whose life you withdraw entirely is often akin to a sudden, unexpected blow. They may have grown accustomed to your steadfast presence, perhaps even assuming it to be an immutable aspect of their existence. In their minds, you were likely a constant, a reliable source of effort, planning, and genuine concern, a person upon whom they could depend, until abruptly you were no longer there. Your disappearance acts as a jarring disruption to their expectations, a shock they did not foresee. It is akin to the common observation that the true value of something is often realized only upon its loss. Let me be clear. When you remove yourself from the life of another, it is not merely a physical departure. It encompasses the withdrawal of all that you represented, the comfort you provided, the validation you offered, the consistent availability you extended. All of this departs with you. They may experience a sense of rejection, a feeling that is not merely superficial, but resonates on a deeper, more personal level. For the first time, they may confront the realization that their influence over you is not absolute. It is a truth of human nature that when an individual believes another will always remain within their reach, they may begin to treat that person as a fallback, a secondary consideration rather than a primary focus. When you vanish, you effectively remove that safety net, and it is at this juncture that a sense of unease, perhaps even panic, may begin to stir. They might find themselves in a state of internal freefall, questioning how they allowed this to occur, how they relinquished control over the dynamic between you. The sharpness of this repudiation can be particularly acute when you have been emotionally open and available. Your affection and presence may have been taken for granted, with the other perhaps assuming your continued support regardless of their actions. There may even have been a misguided belief that they were somehow bestowing a favor upon you by maintaining your connection. The irony lies in the fact that while they might have perceived your contributions as insignificant, in reality, you may have been the very force sustaining the relationship. Therefore, if your aim is for them to truly feel the sting of this repudiation, refrain from offering any prior indication of your intentions. Avoid pronouncements of departure, the issuance of ultimatums, or pleas for attention. Simply withdraw. When your disappearance occurs without explanation, its impact is often more profound, forcing them to confront their own behavior and conveying a clear message that you will no longer tolerate being treated with disregard. When you choose to walk away, do so without hesitation or backward glances. They will feel the weight of this rejection, and trust me, it will likely affect them in ways they did not anticipate. The individual they believed they held sway over, the one who consistently remained, has departed, leaving them to grapple with the consequences. 2. The emptiness of absence. Following the initial shock of repudiation, another sensation may begin to take hold: a profound emptiness. They might not have anticipated missing you, perhaps even convincing themselves that your departure would be of little consequence. If they leave, they might have thought, I shall simply move on. But when your absence becomes a tangible reality, they may begin to feel a void, an emptiness that gnaws at their being. They may continue their daily routines, engaging in the same activities, yet something fundamental will be missing. They may slowly realize that it was you who infused their life with a certain meaning, who brought a particular energy, warmth, and emotional stability to their existence. Now, without you, everything might feel somewhat bland, lacking a certain vibrancy. When an individual takes another for granted, they often assume that the dynamic between them is easily replaceable. However, the truth is that each person brings a unique constellation of qualities to a relationship. No one else can replicate precisely what you contributed to their life. They might attempt to fill the void with new acquaintances or distractions such as friends, work, or hobbies, but it is unlikely to be the same. The unique energy you provided may have enhanced their life in ways they are only now beginning to comprehend. This void may deepen with each passing day. While they might try to divert their attention, the emptiness may persist, serving as a constant reminder of what they have lost. They might never have expected to feel such a sense of absence in your regard. The irony is that they might not have fully appreciated your presence while it was a constant. They might have entertained the notion that they could find someone better, or that you would always remain available. But the moment you are gone, the dynamic shifts entirely. They may start to miss the seemingly small things, the shared conversations, the laughter, the feeling of being understood that you provided, the subtle, everyday moments that now hold a newfound significance. But you are no longer there to offer them. When you choose to disappear, do so in a manner that leaves little opportunity for them to easily re-establish contact. Consider limiting your presence on shared social platforms, perhaps even temporarily restricting access. The more they realize they cannot readily access you, the deeper the sense of void might become. Each time they think of you and consider reaching out, only to find no trace or avenue of connection, the emptiness may intensify. Allow them to experience this absence fully. It is often through loss that one truly appreciates what they once possessed. Let them miss you, and allow them to feel the weight of your absence. The more acutely they experience this void, the more profound their understanding of your value in their life might become. 3. The pangs of unanswered inquiry. As the emptiness of your absence settles, a new sensation may begin to emerge, an overwhelming curiosity. Deep within the void, a sense of desperation might take root, and with it, a barrage of unanswered questions. Where have you gone? What are you doing? With whom are you spending your time? They may become consumed by the need to know what is transpiring in your life, precisely because they no longer have access to this information. Suddenly, you have become an enigma, and there is little that unsettles the human mind more than uncertainty regarding someone who was once close. In this era of interconnectedness through digital platforms, this stage can be particularly intense. They might find themselves compulsively checking your presence on various social media outlets, seeking any glimpse into your current activities. But the crucial element here is your complete withdrawal from these spaces, at least in a manner visible to them. No updates, no stories, no posts that offer any insight into your current life. This silence can be profoundly unsettling. Human beings possess an inherent aversion to the unknown. The moment you vanish from their immediate awareness, their minds may begin to race, conjuring various possibilities. This is often when feelings of insecurity may surface. They might begin to question if you have moved on, if you are now in the company of another, if you are perhaps thriving in your newfound absence. The inability to know can be deeply unsettling, leading to a fixation on finding answers. They might even reach out to mutual acquaintances, subtly probing for information about you, attempting to gather details while perhaps feigning casual interest. It can be a somewhat poignant situation. Someone who perhaps believed they did not need you now expending considerable effort to ascertain your whereabouts and activities. The truth is that curiosity is a potent emotion. When an individual is denied the answers they seek, their mind often fills in the gaps, sometimes conjuring scenarios that are far more impactful than reality. They might imagine you forging new connections, experiencing greater happiness and fulfillment in their absence. This mental imagery can be deeply unsettling, transforming mere curiosity into a form of preoccupation. And here lies a significant aspect of this stage. The less they know, the more they may desire to know. You become the very subject of their thoughts, the one element they cannot readily decipher. To further fuel this overwhelming curiosity, maintain your silence. Become a phantom, entirely off their radar. Refrain from posting anything that might offer them clues about your life. Allow them to wonder, to dwell in their own thoughts as they attempt to piece together the narrative of your absence. Each time they reach for their device to check on you and find nothing, their unease might intensify. You now hold a certain power in this dynamic, and their unanswered curiosity can be a significant element of it. Do not offer easy answers. Instead, let the silence speak volumes. 4. The inward turn, a confrontation with self. As the initial waves of unanswered curiosity begin to subside, a more profound and potentially uncomfortable process may commence. A period of deep self-reflection. After days, perhaps even weeks, of wondering about your whereabouts and activities, their focus may finally turn inward. They might begin to pose difficult questions to themselves. Was I too distant? Was my demeanor cold or dismissive? Did my actions inadvertently push them away? Did I, in some way, fail in my interactions with them? The pangs of regret may begin to surface, and these can be particularly difficult to bear. It is a common human tendency to resist acknowledging one's own shortcomings. It is often easier to attribute difficulties to external factors or the actions of others. However, your complete withdrawal compels them to confront their own potential role in the dissolution of your connection. Without your presence to offer reassurance or to smooth over any past conflicts, they are left to grapple with their own behavior, and this can be an unsettling experience. They might find themselves replaying past interactions in their minds, scrutinizing their words and actions, and questioning whether they could have approached things differently. They might recall instances where they disregarded your communications, dismissed your feelings, or made you feel like a secondary consideration in their life. These memories can carry a significant weight, particularly if, deep down, they recognize that they had something of value and perhaps failed to appreciate it fully. Now, they are left with their own thoughts, and these thoughts can be a harsh judge. This stage is particularly potent because it is an internal process. They cannot readily place blame upon you, as you are no longer present to engage in argument or to offer explanations. The only individual they can truly hold accountable for their past actions is themselves, and this can be a difficult truth to accept. As time progresses, this self-reflection may deepen. The more they contemplate their past interactions with you, the more they might realize the extent of their missteps. Feelings of guilt might accumulate, and they may begin to wish for an opportunity to revisit the past and alter their behavior. However, the reality is that such an opportunity may no longer exist. During this period of self-examination, it is often most effective to maintain your distance. Refrain from reaching out, from attempting to explain your reasons for leaving, or from trying to make them see the error of their ways. Allow them the space to navigate this internal process independently. Self-reflection is often most transformative when it arises from within. The more time they spend contemplating their own actions, the greater the likelihood that they will recognize their own contribution to the situation. Allow them to sit with any feelings of guilt that may arise. It can be a valuable lesson in self-awareness and the importance of cherishing connections. 5. The urge to re-engage, a shift in pursuit. Following a period of introspection, a notable shift may occur within them. The focus may transition from internal questioning to an external desire, the urge to seek your return. The dynamic between you may begin to invert, where once you might have been the one extending effort, offering care, and initiating contact, the impetus may now reside with them. The desire to pursue you can become overwhelming. They might find themselves preoccupied with thoughts of you, experiencing a strong inclination to reach out, and perhaps even harboring anxieties that it might be too late to mend what was broken. They might initiate contact through various means, sending messages expressing that you have been on their mind, subtly engaging with your past activity on social media, or even leaving a comment as a tentative gesture to gauge your response. They might even, perhaps after some indulgence in spirits, send a late-night communication, hoping to rekindle the connection that was lost. The significant aspect here is that they are now the ones initiating pursuit. They have transitioned from a position where they might have taken your presence for granted to one where they are actively seeking your re-engagement. This shift places you in a position of considerable influence. While the urge to respond might be strong, it is often prudent to exercise restraint. Allow them to experience the weight of their desire and the uncertainty of your response. The more they actively pursue, the more acutely they may realize the extent to which they have relinquished control over the situation. They no longer hold the upper hand in the dynamic, and this realization can be profoundly unsettling for those accustomed to a certain level of dominance in the relationship. When they begin to actively seek your attention, resist the temptation to immediately reciprocate. The moment you readily respond, the balance of power might subtly shift back towards them. You have invested in reclaiming your sense of self-worth, and this is not the time to relinquish that ground prematurely. Allow them to continue their pursuit, but do not feel compelled to immediately reward their efforts. Silence can be a potent tool in this situation, allowing them to fully experience the frustration of desiring something that is no longer readily available. 6. The internal conflict. Relief versus regret. In the initial moments following your departure, they might experience a fleeting sensation of relief. It is the initial feeling of liberation, the thought that they are no longer subject to the dynamics of your relationship. They might even feel a sense of self-satisfaction, believing they are better off without you. However, this perceived freedom is often an illusion, a superficial and temporary feeling. They might venture out, spend time with acquaintances, or engage in fleeting interactions, believing that everything will proceed smoothly. But as soon as they find themselves in moments of solitude, in the quiet of their own thoughts, the pangs of regret may begin to surface. They might start to realize that this newfound freedom, devoid of your presence, actually feels like emptiness. The individuals they perhaps thought could easily replace you might prove to be mere superficial distractions, lacking the depth and genuine connection you provided. It is akin to seeking refreshment from salt water when parched. It might offer a momentary illusion of satisfaction, but ultimately leaves one more depleted and yearning. In the contemporary world, with its emphasis on casual connections and readily available alternatives, individuals might mistakenly believe that moving on from a relationship is as simple as finding someone new. However, they may soon discover that replacing a genuine connection, one that offered emotional stability and a sense of true understanding, with fleeting encounters or superficial interactions, is not a viable substitute. This realization can be a harsh awakening. Allow them to experience this so-called freedom fully. Do not rush to fill the void your absence has created. When the inevitable feelings of regret begin to emerge, allow them to sit with that emptiness, that space they perhaps initially believed would feel liberating. Remember that the initial sense of relief they might experience is often transient, while the absence of a meaningful connection, such as the one you provided, can resonate in ways they might not have anticipated. 7. The maneuvers of re-engagement. The game resumes. As the weight of regret settles upon them, a sense of unease, perhaps even panic, might begin to stir. They might feel a strong desire to regain a sense of control over the situation, but they might be unsure of how to proceed. In such instances, they might resort to familiar patterns of behavior, attempting to re-engage through indirect means. They might adopt a deliberately distant demeanor, hoping to elicit a reaction of jealousy or concern from you. They might share images or updates on social media that portray them as enjoying themselves in your absence, perhaps even hinting at new connections or experiences. They might post cryptic messages or share carefully curated content designed to pique your interest and make you wonder about their current life. These are often attempts to subtly draw you back into their orbit, to make you question your decision to withdraw, and perhaps even feel a sense of missing out. However, it is important to recognize that you are no longer participating in these games. You have perhaps moved beyond the need for such manipulations and have outgrown the cycle of seeking external validation through such means. You might observe their subtle attempts to provoke a reaction, the passive-aggressive comments, the exaggerated social media posts, but find that they no longer elicit the desired response from you. When an individual is accustomed to eliciting a reaction through such tactics, your lack of engagement can be profoundly unsettling for them. When they can no longer readily provoke a response, they might feel a loss of control, grasping for a means to re-establish their influence. In such situations, it is often best to remain disengaged. Ignore the cryptic posts, refrain from reacting to the carefully staged images. Their attempts to play games only succeed if you choose to participate. The moment you cease to respond is the moment they might realize that their manipulative tactics no longer hold sway over you. 8. The profundity of silence. A weighty absence. Among the most potent tools one can wield in the realm of human interaction is silence. When you choose to vanish, the absence of your communication, your words, your messages, your very presence, can speak with a force that surpasses any direct expression. It leaves them with nothing but their own thoughts. And for one accustomed to your engagement, this silence can be a heavy and unsettling burden. They might find themselves reflecting on past instances where they disregarded your attempts to connect, where they were too preoccupied to respond, or perhaps simply took your communication for granted. Now they might yearn for the very interaction they once overlooked. Silence can be particularly challenging for those who are accustomed to a certain level of control in a relationship. They might expect you to reach out, to inquire about the reasons for your departure, perhaps even to plead for an explanation or a reconciliation. But when your silence persists, when you disappear and leave them in a state of quiet uncertainty, they might begin to question whether they have truly lost you. They might struggle to comprehend the absence of contact, and each passing moment without a word from you can feel like an eternity, potentially leading to increasing anxiety. In a world saturated with constant communication, where immediate responses are often expected, your deliberate silence can be profoundly impactful. They are accustomed to the ebb and flow of a relationship, the back and forth of messages, even the occasional disagreements. But silence, a complete cessation of interaction, can be deafening. Allow your silence to be your strength. Refrain from breaking it prematurely or offering explanations. Let them experience the weight of their own actions through the absence of your words. They might soon realize that losing access to your communication is far more significant than any argument you might have had. 9. The genesis of fear, a catalyst for return. As the weight of your silence and the contemplation of their own actions settle in, a powerful emotion may begin to take root: fear. This is often the juncture they never anticipated, the point at which they might genuinely become afraid of losing you permanently. For a period, they might have felt secure, assuming your unwavering presence and perhaps taking your loyalty for granted, convinced that you were the one who would always remain, regardless of the circumstances. But now that you are gone, a genuine fear of permanent loss might begin to grip them. They might start to contemplate the possibility that they have lost you for good, that you have moved on to someone else who appreciates your worth. The thought of you forming new connections, sharing your life with another, can be deeply unsettling, even causing them significant emotional distress. Pride, ego, and the desire to maintain a detached facade might begin to crumble in the face of this growing fear. Their primary focus might shift to finding a way to bring you back into their life. This fear can motivate them to actions they might have previously deemed beneath them. They might reach out with sincere apologies, perhaps even expressing a newfound understanding of your value. They might send lengthy messages detailing their regrets and their realization of your importance. Some might even resort to unannounced appearances, hoping for a second chance. Whatever their approach, it is often driven by a singular, powerful emotion: the overwhelming fear that they have irrevocably lost you. However, it is crucial to recognize that by the time this fear takes hold, you might have already embarked on a different path. You might have found renewed strength, reclaimed your independence, and begun to move forward. While their fear might be genuine, it might also be too late to simply return to the previous dynamic. When they attempt to return, consider whether it is truly in your best interest to offer a second chance based solely on their fear of being alone. Allow them to face the consequences of their past actions. You have likely moved on, and they need to understand that your presence is not something to be taken for granted. 10. The attainment of inner sovereignty. And finally, we arrive at a crucial point, a culmination of this entire process: the realization of your own emotional independence. When you choose to withdraw from a situation where your value is not recognized, you are not merely stepping away from another individual. You are actively moving towards your own liberation, your own inner clarity, and your own peace of mind. In many connections, we can become ensnared in a cycle of seeking external validation, striving to please another, and inadvertently neglecting our own needs. We might forget that we possess the inherent power to make choices that prioritize our well-being, including the choice to step away from relationships that diminish our sense of self-worth. However, once you have asserted your boundaries and reclaimed your personal space, a new perspective often emerges. You might find that you no longer crave their approval, that their opinions or desires hold less sway over your inner state. You come to understand that your happiness is not contingent upon their regard. This realization of your own emotional sovereignty is a powerful and liberating experience. And here is a significant truth. They, too, may sense this shift within you. They might perceive that you are no longer the same individual they once knew. You have grown stronger, gained wisdom through the experience, and exude a newfound confidence. They might sense that you have transcended the need for their validation to feel complete. This marks a true turning point in the dynamic. While they might remain trapped in their old patterns of behavior, you have evolved. You have broken free from the cycle of seeking external approval, and their opinions no longer hold the same weight. Embrace this emotional independence. Resist the urge to revert to old patterns or to offer them the satisfaction of believing they still hold dominion over your happiness. You have moved beyond that, and that in itself is a profound victory. Therefore, let us learn from this reflection. Cease offering opportunities for others to diminish your worth. Refrain from being the ever-present individual who remains regardless of the treatment they receive. The moment you assert your value and choose to withdraw from situations that do not honor your being, the dynamic shifts. You reclaim your power. Others may experience regret, and they may come to realize the significance of what they have lost. If you are ready to embrace your own worth and step away from being treated as a mere option, I encourage you to reflect upon these insights. You are on the cusp of embracing a more empowered version of yourself. If these reflections have resonated with you and offered a new perspective, consider sharing your thoughts. Remember, your well-being is paramount. Go forth with the understanding of your own inherent value.